What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Discord Friday. It's January 20th, 2023. Happy birthday to my brother. If you are new to the channel, I welcome you guys. I go over on Discord. I take your pictures off of there and I critique them to let you know what I would do differently to help you build a better palette. Now, with that being said, there's also pictures that you guys snap in the warehouse that I do put on here because I think it's important, because we have a lot of new selectors that are following the channel, and I like to point out common mistakes in all palettes. It doesn't matter if it's your work or something you just snapped in the warehouse. So if you want to be a member of that Discord community, guys, link in the description below. You click that link, it's free. You come on over, join, and it's a great little community over there. If you want to subscribe to my YouTube channel, it's much appreciated. And if you want to donate, it's even more appreciated. And give me a thumbs up too. Let's get to the first picture. All right, like I said, guys, no names to these anymore. There's a lot going on with this palette. Guys, if you follow me, I'm a broken record. I am absolutely a broken record. All right, so I'm going to start pointing out stuff. There's a lot going on. First of all, case is hanging off the pallet. All right, if it doesn't fit, don't force it. That means the end of the pallet too. So if you put a case down, this is the end of the pallet, and you got a case sticking out, either turn it and try to fit it that way, or if it still don't fit, it needs to go somewhere else. So I see a lot of walking cases here. I see big cases in the middle facing that part of the pallet I cannot stand. Guys, this middle section of this pallet, cases should not be going the length of the pallet. They should be pointing towards the middle of the pallet. Your corners, they could be coming in on the length, but the middle of this section of the pallet, face those cases in. I even like facing my corners in as much as possible, unless it's an opportunity to tie in. But this middle of this pallet is the strongest point of your pallet. The more cases you have running towards the middle of that pallet, the better. When you do this, you get this. When you put big cases like this, you hear me say it 1,000 times, guys, you force yourself to have a small corner. And that's exactly what happened, because look how much we are hanging off the back of that pallet. I mean, that's like 6 or 7 inches. And honestly, if you weren't ready to wrap this and you pick this up and move it, that whole back corner is probably going to rock and fall. And that's all the result of having these big cases in the middle. These cases should have been here, and your big cases should have been on the corners facing in. You got cases upright that, in my opinion, don't even need to be upright. Even though this is a small pallet, lay them flat. And plus, they don't even fit because they're hanging off the pallet like 4 inches. So it's enough to get smashed when they get loaded onto the trailer. And that's the result of having these bigger cases in the middle. These little cases over here, they should have been in the middle of your pallet, and your big cases need to be on the outside. It's not horrible. There's just, you know, definitely needs some work. And just now, is it possible? Is it possible? Now, you posted this picture on there, so I'm guessing you put some time and effort into this palette. Is it possible that you just ran through this because you had some time to make up? Possibility. But for new selectors, I like to point out things, and for you as well, whoever posted this picture, because if this was a full palette, you would have had major problems. If this was not the end result, and it was a full cubed palette, this back corner without a doubt would have fell. And honestly, you're rocking here too. This whole column right here is rocking out, so it's possibly that falls. But you see what I say, guys, when you put cases like this in this part of the palette, you force yourself to keep stacking like that the whole way up. Guys, if you've been following me, seriously, for any length of time, do you not see the same thing every single time I say that? I'm telling you, I'm right. All right, let's look at the second palette. Great looking palette. These half palettes, you're really confined the area on how you want to build your palette. I saw the dual cups. You know, I don't like putting these things on their side because they leak. But for crying out loud, when you have a palette like this, I mean, it's probably hard, you know, to do. Now, me personally, I would have just swapped it with something. I would have dropped the dual down and put this ramen noodles up on its end. I just don't like putting any liquid on their side. So honestly, that is the only thing that I would do differently on this palette. Everything else is perfect. Smaller cases in the middle, bigger cases on the outside, nice heavy cases on the corners. For these palettes, man, this is a beautiful palette. Great work. All right, there's a lot going on in this one too. We started off good. We got a nice big case on the corner, small cases in the middle. I don't mind it all the way up to here. I mean, and then what the heck is this? I mean, like, come on, guys. It would take 2 seconds just to, not even half a second, to put this flat on top of this box. Like, I don't understand what this is all about. I don't understand what this is all about. These small cases should be tucked in the middle of your, they fill in my gaps. Anytime I get a small case like this, they fill my holes in the middle. Small corner, or low corner, high inside. There's your result of this whole entire thing coming out like this, that low corner. Guys, you want high corners, low inside. You don't want the opposite way around. We got cases that are just sticking off. But guys, when you tie a case in from a high to a low, the result is this crap. When you put a big case in the middle of the pallet of that direction, the results is leaning corners. So honestly, I could probably fix this pallet in probably about 3 minutes. It's not horrible. We just got a couple mistakes on here, just a sloppy go at it, unless it fell and they just hurried up and put it back together. A little blurry on this one right here, but I wanted to put this on here because this is the result of wrapping your pallet too tight. This is what happens when I say, you guys, when you wrap your pallets too tight, you sort of cone your pallet, and then they had bags left, and that's the result of it. You have no surface left because you funneled your pallet up to a small surface from wrapping it so tightly, and that's the result of it. So, and then you have a front pallet there too. So I don't know why you didn't throw some of your stuff on your front pallet. But once again, this was a picture that was snapped in the warehouse. Let's take a look at the next one. Now this one here actually fell when they separated it. And I was looking at it, and it's not bad. I mean, I like how your front pallet's leaning in. You know, we got that nice, you know, if you want to lean anywhere, guys, you want to lean into each other. And that's exactly what this front pallet's doing. Back pallet's doing it as well. You've got a pretty decent base down here. That case right there, I mean, it is what it is, guys. I mean, it's not bad. So the one thing I noticed, though, is that this case is resting on this case right here on your back pallet. Your pallets are in the air right now. So now let's lower them. Now this case gets pushed onto this. So now when you go to separate it, that is all it takes for something to fall over. It's all it takes. Is I see people, they do this all the time. See, we even got this case hanging out. You want to make sure you got that imaginary line going up. Some people even like to separate their pallets a little bit to have that division. I think we got a little too much lean back here on this back pallet, but yeah, your cases are like almost like mixing in with each other from one pallet to the next. But yeah, it sucks that it dropped, but don't get discouraged because we all drop our pallets. All right, this one right here, I think it's overkill. I looked over this pallet and I saw the breakers on there. And this back pallet is like resting right in the grapes. Honestly, this front pallet is resting in the grapes. There is no doubt there's going to be smashed grapes in these two boxes right here, without a doubt. We got watermelon or something on the bottom. Guys, I look at this and I see a perfectly column stacked pallet. There's no doubt in my mind this would have been perfectly column stacked with no breaker pallets. You did not need breaker pallets on this, in my opinion. You just, guys, column stack them. These things down here, if they're watermelon, whatever the heck they are, I would have just column stacked them. When you have 5 of them, I would have did 3 and 2. Guess what? My grapes all stacked up the front, 3 and 2. You know, all my open boxes would have kept together. If I need another row, I got the middle of my pallet. All these berries and everything would have been stacked on the other side in the middle of my pallet, and then all these boxes could have been stacked on top. This pallet is an easy stack. Let's try to get away from using breaker pallets. All right, this one right here, I mean, it's not horrible. I mean, it looks horrible, but it's not horrible, but it's just a result of leaning a case into a gap. I mean, we literally could fit this case in this gap with no problem. Just slide this over. Guys, use common sense. I mean, if you have a box that matches up with this, I mean, this and this are the same thing. They both say that Reliance or whatever on it, and you got a gap right here. Just slide the case over and stick this case right in the gap. Problem solved. That is all that's ruining this whole entire pallet. It's just that you put a case leaning into the gap instead of just dropping it down onto the flat surface. All right, this one right here, not a bad pallet. I like it. Nice solid base. Just once again, just because I say this does not mean it's the way that you need to do it. But these tomato paste, I'm telling you, if you point cases into the middle of the pallet, you're just going to save yourself more room. Big box like this, it's up towards the top. You're topping it off, not a big deal. But I'm promising new selectors. Now, this person might have their system, but I promise new selectors, when you point cases towards the middle of that pallet, towards the middle of the pallet, towards the middle of the pallet, I'm telling you, you build a stronger pallet. All right, this one right here, I really like this one. I don't like building these things as bases, but when you have a ton of them, there is nothing you could do about it, but it's perfectly done. And you guys always say, I've been throwing this into my videos lately. If I see a slip sheet placement that I think is good, I like to say it. And there is no better place to put a slip sheet on top of a level base of this stuff because it's slippery. And when you put cases on top of it, they tend to shift around. So that cardboard is just going to help hold the cases in place. The only thing I would have did was just separate the pink case and the red case just to space them out a little bit. Not that big of a deal. I like having heavier cases on the outside. We got a water on the inside. We got stuffing, it looks like, and lighter cases on the outside. It's not a big deal. We're up higher on the pallet. But yeah, the reason why I like heavier cases on the outside and not the inside is because if you go around a corner and you just get the slightest shift and you got a lighter corner, that heavy case is going to push over that lighter corner in a heartbeat. But other than that, man, what just a really nice looking pallet. All right, guys, this is the last picture I want to show. Once again, I'm going to say this, point cases towards the middle. All right. I get the concept, guys. I get that you have cases pointing towards the middle and then you constitute this as tying in. Well, guess what? If you flip this case and face it towards the middle and it overlaps right here, it is still tying in. If you have two cases like this and you put a case in the middle and they're the same direction, you stagger them, it's tying in. What would that allow us to do? If we would have turned this case towards the middle, all these ramen noodles would have been able to sit straight up in the air. It's still not a bad pallet. I mean, I'm just letting you know. One of these could have fit in this gap right here. One of these. I mean, why not just fill in this gap? Why have the gap? I mean, you have a slip sheet there, but this is what I hate. I just hate when we just rely on slip sheets. Now, this is lighter product, but we do this with heavy product as well. We'll have a gap like this, and we'll put a case right on the slip sheet inside of that, a heavy case inside of that gap. And I just think it's a bad habit to get into, new selectors. But I would have took one of these noodles here because they're the small ones like these, and I would have just stuck them right in there just to fill in that gap. I love filling in gaps because it helps make a better palette. But other than that, your palette is really nice. It's solid, it's square. Just a few things on this one, but a nice looking palette. All right, guys, that's Discord Friday. That's the, I'll see you guys next week. Keep posting your pictures. Any questions or comments, leave it in the comment section below. And that's it. I'll see you guys later. Have a wonderful day.